Garretson Berry and his traveling apothecary sold salves and tonics for the sick and weary. Traveling roundly through the hollow Fitzgerald, his potions could cure all maladies feral. On a particular end of cold October, Garretson found the townsfolk sober, citing throbbing skulls and eyes bloodshot. He provided them a tonic, magical and hot. 2 bits for a small brown bottle, the liquid was bitter, oily, and mottled. The townsfolk arrived, anxiously waiting in twos to purchase the magical elixir which Garretson barked was new and improved. Pulling the cork from the brown bottle top, each drank the tonic all in one shot, with the townsfolk symptoms steadfast in reprieve, to whom they staggered to sleep, perchance to dream. In the back of the apothecary wagon, the cook of said potion boiled up the magical brew, and with that a sad notion that all men are evil, ugly, and liars, and at best are charcoal on the hearth of hell's fires. His impish figure abrupt and tangled, a disfigured face topped with a hat newfangled. He lived as a pickled punk fermented in a jar, escaped from a sideshow circus to lands exotic and far. His hatred and anger towards the townspeople pride fueled his creation, a potion for a horrific ride, commonly known as snake oil and worse, which townfolk would be affected. Who would be first? Under the harvest moon they slept, through the veins the poison crept. At daybreak the townsfolk will find their true selves appear once hidden inside. Dry oak leaves blew like a shy recluse and sprint as the sunlight allows their mirrors a hint. Garretson waited for the brew to arrive, for the rooster crowed early. It was 5:30. Each person in the small village fair stumbled from their homes, now utterly aware of the transmogrification and amazing metamorphosis. Their outsides now showed the ugliness they possessed. First came Ms. Anne Crabtree, who turned into just that, with barks and leaves, cranberries ripe fat. Next crawled Mr. Bruce Strider, who turned into a spider. He came down from his web and sat down beside her. Next was Terry Crow, Anne Crabtree's half-brother, but turned into a scarecrow, one like no other. He cared only for himself. He possessed no true heart. Unfortunately, this was but beginning, only the start. Then came bratty kid Jack Pratt, which turned into a black cat. But because of his age, he turned into a kitten. If you ventured too close, you would have been bitten. The town's crooked esquire, Frank N. Stein, arrived, with bolts in his neck and a stiff-legged stride. He waved his hands, afraid of lantern fire. This would not have happened if he weren't such a liar. Clumsy blonde Marcus with wobbly tummy is in bandages like an Egyptian mummy. He's paired up with local banker Ross Van Pyre, who sucked up the town's money. Now he is a vampire. Each and every citizen changed into their sins. Thank heaven there were no fishermen, as they would have surely had fins. Oh, how unbelievable is this monster garrison, for all these monsters paled in comparison to the imp's greatest creation that came a dragon past the traveling apothecary wagon. The crazy town doctor, Dr. Stephen Lumpkin, had turned into a big, fat orange pumpkin. As the townsfolk flocked like birds of a feather, the imp and Garretson had different plans altogether. With a large butcher knife, the imp, who was starving, saddled the monster pumpkin and started carving. He cut a hole in the top and pulled out the guts in piles, then carved out some eyes and a big, toothy smile. What a gruesome and ghoulish presumption that the monsters would want Dr. Stephen Lumpkin for consumption, but consume they did, with menacing fangs and serpentine arms. Who could imagine Dr. Lumpkin would come to such harm? Perhaps the imp had such the intention, for he inadvertently started a tradition. The townsfolk who did not imbibe in the libation thought the monsters and pumpkin a fascinating creation. As the normal folk strolled the Fitzgerald Hollow, they find Ms. Anne Crabtree rooted, but that very shallow. Walking by Miss Anne Crabtree was fat Frederick Krueger, whose confection of choice was cubes of pure sugar. With his slobber-covered palms and sausage fingers, he dropped the sugar cube. The effects would surely linger. Like the Medusa's snakes, the roots attacked the sugar retreat, putting the potent elixir's effects full in retreat. With Ms. Anne Crabtree almost completely cured, her short, crabby demeanor still mostly impure. She went to work combating the curse, but with that one day of change, they all feared the worse. Could they make the needed changes and make their lives better for the betterment of their town, to live life unfettered? All changed back with the simple sugar solution, except for Dr. Stephen Lumpkin. His total evolution was unfortunate and delicious, for his craziness was far too pernicious. His demise was not particularly in vain, for his pumpkin smile hid that carving pain. With his innards missing, the doctor's death would be bereaved. When with that said, the townsfolk said he looked like a rather happy hollow Steve. So began a custom and ritual, on every October 31st habitual. The townsfolk in their monstrous thirst drank the imp's potion, each last through first. The change was merely momentary, with vampires, spiders, and werewolves so hairy. The townsfolk would trek from cabin to house with their children in change, many with their spouse. The sugary sweets to aid their change back, the treats, some red, some yellow, some black, gave the townsfolk some last-ditch fun before the season of the diminished sun. Though the name has changed from the beginning to now, Happy Hollow Steve is celebrated in every single town, from Gothic, California to Erie, PA. The imp's potion is not needed for the first foray into the world of monsters and ghouls, all participants expected to make fools of themselves and others, of sisters and of brothers. Of all people, great and small, it's a celebration, the first of the fall. So in honor of the first carved pumpkin, also known as Dr. Steve, have yourself a happy Halloween.